Carla, why are you wearing 5 t-shirts?
It's one for each decade, thanks to www.badfishmerch.com.
What have you got?
I've got Pink Lady for the 70s, Choose Life for the 80s, Girl Power for the 90s, I Survived Y2K for the noughties, and this one here, this is the last one, I Do It Gangnam Style for the 2010s.
Okay, firstly, classy. Secondly, I didn't need to see that was the last one. Put it away.
Oh, sorry. But anyway, here's the great news. With our discount code RERUN, customers can get 10% off all t-shirts, hoodies and more.
Wait, but can they do any slogan?
Yep, or any picture. They can use loads of different vinyls such as glow in the dark, don't use that in the cinema, metallic, reflective, rainbow and loads more.
Oh, right. Better go over to www.badfishmerch.com with that promo code RERUN then.
Absolutely. But first, these people have got a show to listen to. Cue the intro.
Hello, thank you for choosing to listen to Number One Rerun. We are Zoe and Carla, and each episode we get pop culture nostalgic after asking the listeners one simple question. Give us a date.
That's right, and this week we are heading back to the 14th of May 1994. Let's go. Hello, Zoe.
Hello, Carla.
So, as we just said, we are heading to the 14th of May, 1994 today. This is a very special date because it's our first ever sent in via our iTunes review.
Do you know what I think's brilliant about this? I don't think even we considered that as an option for submitting dates, did we?
No, because if we had, we would have insisted everyone previously had done that. And we would never pick a date unless it was an iTunes review, if we'd have been clever.
Yeah.
Thank you to Texas Cowboy 1978. You, sir, are far smarter than we are.
How are you sure it's a sir, Carla?
Because it says Texas Cowboy, not Cowgirl.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe you'll leave another review from Texas Cowgirl and say, oi.
If he does, submit a date as well, Texas Cowgirl.
As long as you leave 5 stars in the review, fine by us.
Yeah.
So thank you very, very much for that. Now, this came through actually on the UK iTunes reviews, but I'm presuming this person was possibly on holiday in the UK it was a lovely review, very, very nice, but the terminology leads us to believe this is an American, and as does the name Texas Cowboy. If you are British, stop pretending, just be yourself.
Okay, don't alienate him. Can you withdraw reviews once you've submitted them?
You can't.
Oh, okay, well then.
I just want him to embrace himself. If he's British, don't try and be a cowboy. Be yourself.
Well, maybe he likes Texas and cowboys.
Oh, wait. Well, you know what we haven't considered? Maybe he's only a fan of Texas who made Inner Smile.
Where does the cowboy come from then?
Don't know. Maybe he likes Woody from Toy Story and Texas, the pop band.
Carly, you're letting yourself down now. Stop talking.
No, I'm just waffling.
Yeah.
Okay, so this date he has sent in was... I'm just reading what Zoe's written on our spreadsheet. Sorry, we've got Zoe's very good at the Excel, which is the only part she contributes.
At the Excel.
Well, that's why I don't do the Excel, because I call it the Excel. So this was the date he got his driving licence. And here, this is how we know he's American, right? Now this is clever thinking. This.
Yeah.
We can assume he was born in 1978 because that's his past, that's his, username.
I see where you're going.
He would have been 16. We can't get our driving licence at 16. Only Americans can.
Also, Carla, he spelt a licence with an S, not a C.
There you go.
It's a foregone conclusion now.
I wonder if he found our show whilst he was on holiday, because it definitely said it came from the UK iTunes store.
Can you cross over the Atlantic to submit a review, as it were?
I mean, would he? Would he bother to do that? I mean, that's a hardcore fan, isn't it?
No, I don't mean that. I mean, can you submit a review from the States on the UK iTunes?
No, you cannot.
Okay. Well,
any review that's given to us from the States, which are kindly received, thank you very much, only show on the USA iTunes, and our UK ones, again, gratefully received, only show on the UK ones. Unless you're the admin, and then we can obviously see them all.
Maybe he's moved here.
Oh, yes.
That possibility literally just occurred to me.
Get in touch, Texas Cowboy. You've given us a great idea in asking people to submit dates via iTunes reviews, which is way less hassle than, having to ask family and friends to do it. Not all of which did, might add, if you're listening.
Oh, someone's in trouble.
Didn't see any from your family and friends, Zoe.
No. We don't need them, Carla. We don't need them.
We don't need them. We're doing very well. So thank you. Anyway, we've done enough waffle. The number one UK single on this date, and I apologise to Texas Cowboy because I don't think he's going to be interested, is Come On You Reds by the Manchester United football team featuring Status Quo.
It's not your fault, Carla. You don't need to apologise.
I do remember this song. Zoe didn't when we found out what it was. Do you remember it now that I gave you a rendition of it?
Remind me again.
Come on, you Reds. Come on, you Reds. Do. Come on, you Reds.
No.
Oh. I mean, I do remember it just because it's quite unusual. A football song gets number one unless it's the England squad. I don't like football, despise football, actually. But I have got a family that like football, but none of them are Man U supporters. In fact, they are very anti-Man U, which I think most teams are unless you're a Man U fan. I think if you don't actually support them, you hate them, I think is the rule of thumb in football.
Yeah, I think you're right.
My work conference was held at Manchester United Football Ground this year.
Wasted on you.
Yeah, my work sponsoring the Premiership, so we got to go to a big club. It was a little bit wasted, but I was really impressed by it. It looked fantastic. You don't have to like football to be impressed by a really nice stadium. And, I thought, family like football. I'll send them, a couple of pictures of me here. Oh, practically disowned me on the WhatsApp group they did.
I mean, you're an idiot. Even if you're not a fan, you should know that wouldn't go down well.
I just thought they might be impressed because I don't take an interest in football, but I was saying, this is a nice football stadium. Look at me holding a Man U mug.
Lesson learned.
Other than that, weird Status Quo were on board because, they're Londoners, aren't they? So why were they picked, I wonder? Are they Man U fans or?
I don't know, Carla. My knowledge of Status Quo is quite hazy, to be honest.
I used to work with someone. I don't want to give his name because it sounds like I'm mocking him, and actually he was a really nice boy.
A nice boy? How old was he?
No, because he was a boy. He was 16 and I was like in my mid-20s at the time. So to me, he was a boy. He was a Saturday boy when I was working at Virgin Megastore. And he was so obsessed with Status Quo, which I found really odd for a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Of that time as well, like 16 in the noughties this would have been, so not even in kind of the Status Quo era. And he changed his name, I won't say his first name, but he changed his name to first name Quo by deed poll.
No, he didn't.
Did.
So if his name's Joe, he called himself Joe Quo.
Joe Quo. His name's not Joe, although more's the pity, because that would have been a great name. Yeah, nice kid, but he was really, and I know what it's like to collect on a band. I've done it with Iron Maiden, but he had the weirdest thing I've ever heard. That he came in one day really excited, and he said, "I've got a bootleg video of Francis Rossi's hair transplant operation." Look, I love Iron Maiden. I've never gone that far as to get their medical records or any kind of operation video footage.
I know, but the idea of watching someone's hair transplant, it could be quite interesting to watch, no?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure you can find that on YouTube, but can you find Francis Rossi on YouTube? I don't know.
I'm not going to Google it in case I do find it.
No, don't look. Anyway, don't know an awful lot about Man U. Know a little bit more about Status Quo, but it seems like a one-ended conversation because Zoe can't join in. So I think we should just move straight over to the film. What do you reckon?
This is not going to be any better, but okay, let's.
Oh, okay. Well, I know a little bit about this film as well.
Good.
So, as usual, Zoe's the deadwood of the podcast.
You're welcome.
The number one film in America on this date was The Crow. Have you seen it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's one of those films I've seen bits of. It had what's his name in it, didn't it?
What's his name? Brandon Lee.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Son of Bruce Lee. I've got to give a shout out to my friend Vicky because she adored him and thinks he was the most beautiful man ever.
Oh, okay.
And she loves a bit of Bruce Lee too. So anyone in the Lee family, I think. But obviously, very tragic circumstances surrounding this film, isn't there? He died actually in a scene for real, which is awful. And he was really young.
How did he die?
Don't send us in that I've got this wrong, people, because I know that I'm not saying it exactly 100% how it happened. But there was something to do with he was going to be shot in the film, and previously the props department had used a real bullet in the gun, taken it out, but part of the real bullet had lodged in the barrel, I guess. I'm not sure too up on gun terms.
I've Googled it, chamber.
Okay, so when they put the blanks in, it forced the remnants of the actual bullet out, and it was enough to kill him, which is horrific, really horrific.
I mean, that's bad luck, isn't it?
Bit of a sad one. I remember when I was younger, everyone used to rave about this film. I think partly because of obviously what had happened, and he died so young, kind of like the Heath Ledger effect, I guess, that people get really interested in someone. Unfortunately, after they die, that happens a lot. But I was always a bit nervous of it because when it came out, we were like 16.
That's probably why I didn't watch it. I probably wasn't allowed.
I remember telling everyone I'd seen it. Obviously, probably hadn't at that time. I do remember having the soundtrack because it was a metal soundtrack and it was a very good soundtrack. But I don't think I watched it till a few years later. But it's not, no disrespect to Brandon, not really my kind of film. It's a bit comic book fantasy-ish for me.
Yeah, it's a bit, just I don't really understand the big fuss about it kind of film.
Kind of maybe like The Matrix. I didn't really see the fuss around that either, other than the fact visually it was very good. I understand that. It looked amazing. But that kind of thing.
Not our cup of tea, is it, Carla?
Not a cup of tea at all. But I do know that it's a cult classic. Right. So let's head over to what our TV guide picks of the day were. So what was your choice for today, Zoe?
So my choice of the day, Carla, was Stars in Their Eyes. Now, did Stars in Their Eyes an equivalent of Make It to the States?
You know what? I'm not sure. But it's got to have done. That is the kind of thing that will translate in any country.
Exactly. The premise of Stars in Their Eyes was that your normal everyday Joe Schmo could come on television and say that they were going to do an impersonation of a famous singer. And it was hosted by Matthew Kelly.
Originally Leslie Crowther.
In 94 it would have been Matthew Kelly, wouldn't it?
Bulk of it was Matthew Kelly.
People would say it became a massive catchphrase for him to say to them, who are you going to be tonight? And they'd say, tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Dolly Parton, let's say.
Yep, and then they go through the doors.
Yeah, and then they'd come back through the doors as if it was like an immediate, one of those quick change kind of acts. Dressed as Dolly with this massive, with the dry ice going like crazy, that they would walk through the dry ice. And then they'd do their performance as Dolly. And then wasn't there some kind of voting?
I think and how I remember this, I don't know. I think during the main part of the series, it's a studio audience that picked the winner. And then I think it got to a final and the public got to ring in, or possibly even write in, because you used to be able to send entries in on a postcard. So I think it might have actually just crept into you could still postal vote who you wanted to win.
I've been Googling, as is my way. I'd just like to correct you, Carla. It was, in fact, Matthew Kelly in 1994.
I stand corrected.
Anyway, so people used to become their idols. Normally it was their idols, and with mixed success.
What I never used to get, everyone will remember that was around that time, the little bloke that was really good as Christopher.
Yeah, I do remember him.
Because he was so good. That Christopher turned up and did a duet with him, and arguably he might have actually sung it better than Christopher. Like, he went on to have a career, quite short-lived, but a career impersonating Christopher, which I find really odd when Christopher was still around and still touring. Like, I understand if it had been someone that died, but why would you go and see? Even seeing Christopher is weird. Seeing a Christopher impersonator is the oddest thing.
Isn't it Christopher?
I think you're a bit common putting the berg. I think you need to go burr.
It's the way you're saying it. The Christa, as if that's all one word. Christa, burr, like the French for butter.
What do you want me to refer to him as? Christa French for butter?
No, you're putting the emphasis in the wrong place. Chris de Berg, not Christa Burr.
It just rolls off the tongue. Obviously, this must have been a couple of years down the line when I used to work on a Saturday night when I worked in a cinema. My dad used to come and pick me up and drive me home, and we used to watch Stars in Their Eyes when we got back with my mum. So the three of us would sit down and watch it, where they taped it as he was coming to pick me up, because for a long time I used to finish at 7 on a Saturday. I don't know why. I used to do 9 till 7. And my mum used to secretly watch it while my dad was out collecting me, write down who everyone was going to be, and then put it under my pillow. So when I went up to change, I would see who was going to be on the show. So that each time someone walked out, no matter how ridiculously unlike someone they looked, I would guess who they were going to be.
Oh, that's very sweet.
And my dad never cottoned on how we did it. He was like, you just can't know these people, Collie. He said, it's ridiculous. They look nothing like them. And you get every single one right. Each time they walked out, no matter who it was, I'd be like, oh, that's a spitting image of Tony Christie. He was like, as if you know Tony Christie. He knew there was a prank going on. He knew, but he just couldn't work out how it was done. Little did he know, my mum was willing to watch that programme twice just to get him. That's commitment.
I know.
And I remember Tony Christie because it was before he got really famous again, after Peter Kay bought out Amarillo and On the Way to Amarillo, what it was called.
Yeah.
Because it was such a bizarre one. She wrote, older man sang a song about Amarillo. So, yeah, I just remember him coming on. I'm like, oh, I love this song, Amarillo. And he'd be like, no, there's something going on. We used to do awful pranks to him all the time. This was one of the least awful things we did to him. Even I think this is even worse. But my mum used to buy something new for the house and just put it on the side. And then he'd suddenly notice it and she'd be like, oh, don't be stupid. We bought that years ago.
Oh.
And then he'd look at me and I'd be like, oh, come on, Dad. We bought that in Spain. This was like really random, as if I had a backstory for it. And he was like, I don't remember it. And I'm like, oh, come on.
See, from what I know of your childhood, I'm surprised it wasn't you and your dad ganging up on your mum. I didn't appreciate.
It was. I used to change sides all the time. I was a very fickle child. I'd go with wherever the laughs were with.
The joys of being an only child.
Yeah, just playing both off each other. So, fond memories of this show. They tried to bring it back recently, didn't they? It didn't quite work.
Did they?
They tried to bring it back with Harry Hill presenting it. Fell a bit. I think it's too of the time. It's too twee. It's too sweet. Like I said, how many? I mean, all right, probably not many teenagers were going home and watching it with their mum and dad like I was, but it was like a family thing where you all sat down together, and I don't know if it would work.
I did also like the odd celebrity one that they used to do.
You know what everyone's going to be remembering from that? Carol Vorderman doing Cher.
Yes. I was thinking that was when something's at the back of your mind, something about Cher, but I couldn't think what it was. Or
Well, because it was shocking at the time. So, dear American listeners, sorry we've gone off topic because you're probably not going to know who Carol Vorderman is, but at the time she was a very straight-laced mathematician who was on, well, kind of a spelling program.
She was a mathematician who was on a spelling program.
Well, she was. I mean, they had a maths round, but essentially it's a spelling program, isn't it? And no one had ever seen her do anything. I mean, now you wouldn't blink an eye, would you, at Carol Vorderman coming out in her knickers? But at the time, it was just like, oh my word.
I know. Nowadays, if she's wearing knickers, you're surprised.
Honestly, you're lucky to find her on the day she doesn't look like Cher. But then, shocking.
She wore the whole fishnet thing, didn't she?
Yeah, she was basically wearing the If I Could Turn Back Time outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, I would put that down to it changed her life because she's never been the same since, has she?
It changed her forever.
She threw away that abacus and turned into raunchy Carol. God. Right. So I chose the Flintstones.
Where's the Flintstones?
They're a modern Stone Age family from the town of Bedrock.
It's a place right out of history.
Let's ride with the family down the street through the courtesy of their 2 feet.
Oh, is that the words? I didn't know that was the words. I've learned something tonight.
Honestly, people are getting so much sing-songy this episode. Lucky them. So obviously this would have been a repeat because the Flintstones was like the 60s or something. But it kind of went through I would say almost a resurgence in the 90s because the films came out. The real life action films.
Yeah, but they were awful.
Oh, they were terrible. Didn't do it justice at all. Although I think they had 2 perfect people to play Fred and Barney. I think they were a fantastic cast. It just didn't work.
Yes. Agreed.
It just needed a better script. It could have been very good.
Something should just be left alone.
I don't know why they couldn't have made, like they did with The Simpsons, just a feature film of the Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly.
Would have been fine. But this has always been one of my favourite cartoons. I don't watch many cartoons as I've got older. Might surprise you. This is a cartoon that I could watch as an adult and still enjoy. It's like a non-naughty Family Guy, isn't it?
I mean, yes, a very non-naughty.
Yeah, we talked about Family Guy, and that's very naughty.
All right, carry on, Captain.
Matron.
That will be so lost on any listeners in the US.
Or anyone under the age of 40 in the UK.
That too. That is true too.
So, I mean, yeah, we talked about them a little bit, didn't we, during the Family Guy episode, that it was kind of the first cartoon that was made for adults, even though it wasn't kind of rude, but it wasn't aimed to amuse children. It was more grown-up humour.
Yeah.
I don't think it went on past sort of 5 years or so. I think it's amazing how it stood the test of time.
I mean, my favourite part was always the car. And I liked the dinosaur as well. Didn't the dinosaur always get chucked out of the house like a dog?
The cat did. The saber-toothed tiger cat did.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
The dino was allowed in the house. The cat had to go out. and then the cat chucked Fred out, and then you'd hear him banging on the door going, Wilma, at the end.
Oh, you're right, you did. God, you know it well. Have you watched it recently?
I may have to box it.
Seriously? I mean, I've been to your house. Where do you put all these things?
You've seen my flat.
I know, but every time we talk about something, you say, oh, I've got the box set.
Oh, you know what? I decluttered a lot. You know I did. When I moved into this flat, I got rid of more than half of my DVDs and CDs. So the Flintstones made the cut. That tells you how good it is.
Yeah. There you go, people.
Yeah. Imagine what I left behind.
No, that's doing the Flintstones a disservice. It is a good.
No, I'm only teasing Flintstone fans. I loved it, and I used to, when I was little, I had the figures of the Flintstones as well, which I bought when we were on holiday in Palma.
Oh, good detail.
I only say that because I wonder if they were available in England or if it was more of a Spanish.
Were they official versions,
thing.
or were they like the bootleg ones that you get on in, you know?
They looked fairly official. They didn't look knocked off. And I had the car and like the 4 main car. I don't know if I had Pebbles and Bam Bam. I'm not sure.
Probably, Carla. Let's face it. Probably.
I probably had the whole of Bedrock in my suitcase, I'd imagine. Do you remember when B-52s did the soundtrack for the film, and they did like a really jazzed up version and called it the BC-52s, which I thought was very clever. And you know what annoys me? Not available on Spotify. I've searched it.
You know what I fancy listening to? The BC-52s. Have you just searched for it under B-52s?
I've done both. It's not on there. No, you know what I wanted it for? I wanted it for my movie playlist, where I pick all the greatest songs from the movies. I think that should be in it. And I wanted to put it directly after Ghostbusters, because it's kind of in the same vein, isn't it? I thought, that would be a great lead onto that song. Not there. Furious. Ruined my playlist.
Who's the playlist for? Is it just for yourself?
Just for me. So where can people find us, Zoe, if they would like to submit a date?
Well, Carla, they can find us on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter at Number One Rerun, or they can email us at numberonererun@hotmail.com. And we had a flurry of emails and they've dried up a bit. So it'd be nice to get some emails, people. And iTunes reviews, of course.
Yeah, only 5-star ones. You give us less 5 stars, you're not going to get your date, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Those are the rules. Come on, be fair, guys. Well, yeah, we had a flurry of emails when Podbean kindly promoted us for the week. So people suddenly started listening to us and we had lots of dates. And then, since we've not been promoted, no one wants to speak to us, do they?
No. Fair weather friends.
No. And we are also the proud creators of Britpod Scene, which is a collective of British podcasts. If you go to Britpod Scene on Twitter, everything we retweet are the shows that we endorse. So thank you so much to Texas Cowboy 1978. Honestly, we were so chuffed to get a submission via an iTunes review. And I'll just say, you might have started a trend, because we have got another one coming up that someone else has left. So I don't know what episode that will land on, because we got a little bit of a waiting list. But it's exciting, wasn't it, when we found that?
It was. Especially since we were hadn't I said before, hadn't even thought of it ourselves. It was...
No.
It was a big day, Carla. It was a big day.
Oh, it was the best day. Thank you so much. And we will see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
Number One Rerun podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or follow Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.